welcome to the February 14th, 2024 Greenfield Public Schools School Committee meeting. Secretary Geneve, will you call the roll?
Yes. Secretary Geneve, I'm here. Vice Chair Martini? Here. Chair Johnson-Musad?
Here.
Mayor DeSorger? Member Proietti?
Here.
Member Sexton?
Here.
Member Childs? We have a quorum.
We have a quorum, and Ann Childs has just arrived. We are starting the meeting at 6:01 p.m. The meeting is being recorded by GCTV. If any other persons are present are also recording, you must notify the chairperson at this time. I don't see anybody, and we're on to the Green Spoon Award winner visit.
We are very pleased to announce that Jessica Caravo, who is a teacher at Greenfield Middle School, has been for 14 years. Karen and I and Michelle Fenimore were able to surprise her the other day in her classroom and share with her that she was chosen for Greenfield's award this year. And Ms. Patnode has begged to be able to read a paragraph of the nominating entry. I don't know how else to say that, but the nominating narrative, and I think that all of you will enjoy it. So,
congratulations, Jess. I've worked with you for many years, and I'm so happy and so proud of all the work that you do for Greenfield Public Schools. If many of you don't know the Green Spoon Award, you are nominated by your fellow colleagues, and they submit in writing why they think a teacher is deserving of the award. And I just have to at least share the first paragraph. Miss Wynn, who is a team teacher of Miss Caravo's, nominated her, and she started her nomination with the following. Paris has the Eiffel Tower. New York has the Empire State Building. At Greenfield Middle School, we have Jessica Caravo. Jess would crack up laughing at this comparison, and you probably are too, but hear me out. Every place needs that emblem of strength, stability, and inspiration where you can look and say, that's where we want to be. Jessica is that emblem to me and so many others in the district. So I just thought that was very appropriate for what you stand for and how many people value what you do in that building, but also district-wide. So congratulations.
congratulations. I think she deserves acknowledgement. And I would like to share that Karen and I and Michelle and Jessica's family will be able to be with her when she is recognized at the log cabin in April with all of the other area Green Spoon winners, and she gets some prizes along with that. And we are putting out a press release so that everyone in the area will be able to see that Jessica is our winner. So we're super happy and proud to work with her. So thank you. No, do you want to say anything?
Sure. Do I have to push this button?
You do.
Yes, a couple of times.
If you want us to hear you, yes.
I guess, I mean, I just, when I was hired in Greenfield many years ago, I'm from the area, but I'm not super close to Greenfield. And it's where I met my husband. It's where I've had my 2 kids since I've, worked here. So I really feel like I've evolved a lot as a person, but also as a teacher. And so I'm just super thankful that, even though I don't live super close, this is like my little home away from home and my other community that I really love and cherish. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Excellent. Congratulations, and thanks so much for all you do for the schools. So we're on to public comment. The normal process is that members sign up with Susan Farber, who unfortunately is not with us tonight. So we're going to be a little bit more informal. And I would just ask anyone who would like to speak for public comment to raise your hand, and I'll call you up. Please step forward to the table and say your name and where you live, the town you live. No, you have to push it until it turns green. Yeah. There you go.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Kate Broughton. I live at 94 Meridian Street in Greenfield, and I've been here since 2017. I'm here primarily because I've got the buzz about the fact that the Green River School may well be decommissioned as a school, and I'm excited. I'm really excited about the possibilities because all the years that the many years that I've lived here and walked by the school, and just the ghost that's there, you know. And I have talked to people who went to school there or they sent their children there, and it just seems such a shame that such a lovely property would just be sitting there. So I am very excited about the possibilities of it being decommissioned because of the many other ways that it could be put to use in our community for the greater good and to still remain a neighborhood icon. My main questions right now, I'm totally curious about how this process is going to work, how the decommissioning process works, how long it takes. Will this property go into private ownership? Will it remain a town or city property? And the most important thing for me is how will the decision-making process take place between Petty Plain, top to bottom, and Meridian Street, top to bottom. There are about 475 residents, and there's a lot of esprit de corps in this neck of the woods. And even though a lot of people don't know each other by name, there's a lot of hi neighbor, head nodding, and stuff like that. And so we all kind of consider this little building to be sort of the Stonehenge of the Meridian Street area. And I think I can only speak for myself, but I do believe that most of those of us in this part of town at the crossroads of Petty Plain and Meridian really hope that we can be at the table, have a place at the table during the visioning process and the implementation process of whatever it is. So that's all I have to say, but I'm looking forward to what more comes down the pike, and thank you for your listening.
Thank you. Anyone else wish? Thank you.
My name is Susan Wergaftig. I live on Forest Avenue in Greenfield, and I'm here representing Housing Greenfield. And I would just like to support Kate's comments. We very much are looking forward to a full discussion about what can go into that space and how the decommissioning process happens, and we're very willing to assist in any way we can. So we don't understand the process, and we'd like to learn more. But however that process works, if there is community, I just want you to know there's a large amount of community interest in seeing whatever is developed there to be really positive for the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Please.
Jesus Leva, 88 Deerfield Street. My comments are going to be in the same vein. They're about the Green River School and about learning more about the process, what's going to happen during the possible decommissioning of the school. I would like to be more direct and say that I'm hoping it can become affordable housing. Housing is obviously a pretty desperate need in the city. And specifically, if that is the case, it's my understanding, and again, I'm speaking a little bit out of ignorance here, but I was told that there might be some loan amount or debt associated with the school. And so through the state, and if there is a possibility to have a conversation about loan forgiveness on that with state officials, that if we're advocating for it to become housing, the state right now is very interested in housing as a topic that's before the legislature as a major bill. So roping our local legislators into discussions about loan forgiveness to potentially turn the property into housing that's positive for the neighborhood, I think would be good. And we would really, as people in the area, like to know more about the process and be given the opportunity to be involved and advocate for a good outcome.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I'll just say for folks watching at home and others, we're piloting tonight. On the agenda, there is a Zoom link for people to participate in public comment remotely. So I don't see anyone here on the Zoom tonight, but for those watching at home, for future reference, we'll continue to do that. So we would welcome your comments virtually as well as in person. And our next item is report of student representatives to the committee.
It's rather short tonight. This was a little last minute on my behalf, but I guess that means it's a little more concise. So we're going to start with student council as always. We are gearing up for our annual trip to Hyannis, which occurs in the beginning of March. Over vacation, we're going to have a trivia fundraiser to help offset that cost. And if you're interested in attending, you must be 21 or over. The cost is $10 per person, and it is at the Moose Lodge in Greenfield on Saturday, February 24th. Doors open at 6 and questions start at 6:30. You can RSVP with Miss Mass at angemass1@gpsk12.org. Teams are up to 10 people. You can bring your own snacks, and we thank everybody for supporting the trip by showing up. After attending a bocce event out in Middleborough, I believe, several of our members wanted to continue our partnership with our special education students and have started a Best Buddies program at the school. They're currently meeting with them once a week for Just Dance and are extending our programming to crocheting and potentially cooking with the students in Miss Delvecchio's life skills class. French Club had another successful annual Candygrams fundraiser and hand-delivered them to students and staff today on Valentine's Day. We all look forward to Taste of World Cultures on March 13th and their trip to France that's coming in April. Drama Club continues to work hard on their spring play, Myth Adventures, and they're adding light, sound, and set and costume elements to enhance the spectacular work of their actors that they've been doing. Their performances will be on Friday, March 22nd at 7 p.m. and Saturday, March 23rd at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Tickets will be sold at the door, $5 per student and $10 for adults. This show, both comic and tragic, is not to miss, and we hope to have large, enthusiastic crowds supporting Drama Club's return after 5 long years of absence. Library Club held a poetry workshop on January 24th with Lyrical Faith, a Black American educator, activist, and spoken word poet from the Bronx. Students and teachers were inspired and began writing their own poems. The library itself at GHS has kicked off a 2024 reading challenge, encouraging students and staff to set a reading goal for the calendar year. People who sign up to fill out a pledge card with either a goal number of books or pages per month get a book-themed water bottle sticker and a monthly reading log bookmark. Participants who complete the reading logs will enter into quarterly prize drawings. Spectrum is working on their own annual Valentine's Day bake sale this week with chocolate-covered pretzels. The goal of that fundraiser is to raise money to buy club t-shirts to march in the Franklin County Pride Parade in June. And to close everything off, we will just, on behalf of all of the students at GHS and all of the staff, want to extend a congratulations to Adiana Clough, Zach Ozdarski, and Nate Woodard for being accepted into the UMass Honor Band. That concludes everything, but if there are any questions on what I mentioned, I'd be happy to answer them.
I'll just add, I had an opportunity to attend the Honor Band performance on Saturday, and it was so exciting. There's students coming from all over the Commonwealth and creating like bands or orchestras, really, 3 different orchestras composed of people who had never met each other before, learning music and performing it all in one day. It was really cool. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you so much. Now we're on to reports of the administration and our business manager.
Good evening, everyone. You have your monthly update for the budget. We also, as requested last time, included the capital Those are at the end of the report. Just to highlight, we are beginning our year-end closing, or I should say continuing, because we've started at the turn of the calendar year. You'll see like some of the special education tuitions have been moved to circuit breaker. So we'll be doing things as we've done normally, of moving expenses to the revolving accounts and potentially moving things out of the local budget, or out of the revolving accounts back into the local budget as we do our normal year-end closing, to see what we can do for maximizing funds available in all those funding sources. Nothing, knock on wood, concerning as of this point in time. So if there are any questions, I can answer them.
Member Deneve?
Last month, we had talked about a request for training members how to read budget reports in a more easily accessible format, and I was just wondering where you might be on that, or if you thought about.
Admittedly, I didn't know it was my responsibility to coordinate that. I was thinking that would be a school committee discussion and or setting up of a workshop, and I would make myself available.
Well, fair enough. I was not sure.
Yep, I think that's something we can have on our list for a future meeting, but no progress has been made since the last time.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for business manager? All right, assistant superintendent.
I also have a very short report tonight, but some great photos that I wanted to include so folks could see what we have been up to. With regard to our instructional strategy work, the district administrative team, along with our DESE SSOS team and our teaching lab partners, we have conducted learning walkthroughs 1 and 2 on questioning in all of the district buildings. That aggregate data from the instructional strategy was shared with building principals and their instructional leadership teams, who met, reviewed the data, and then were building plans for future professional development, which happens either during their PLTs, which are professional learning teams during the day, or faculty meeting time. So that's been going well. Curriculum updates. We had an opportunity to, Luke Martin and Rebecca Zimmerman, history teachers at Greenfield High School, organize the annual Yellow Conference, which is youth engaged in leaders and officials, legislators and officials, I think. I apologize. The conference was on Thursday, January 25th, and it really was wonderful to be a part of. I included some photos. Alana Jurjoy from FERCOG was there, along with Representative Whips and Blay, which students got to do small group conversations and then break out into larger group conversations with a lot of officials. School committee member Deneve was there, along with school committee member Sexton, so it was great to see kids just really engaging in civic opportunities. We are continuing curriculum mapping. It's been an ongoing year-long process in ELA and music. We have 5 committee members who are really working hard after hours to finalize unit maps so that we can review all of them by June. What I did not include, but which will begin, is we have a science curriculum group starting up in March to review science materials so that we can plug along and order new materials that are high quality, standards-based for future years, because we are really behind the 8 ball with some of our materials in the science department. So that'll be for grades 6 through 12 coming up. I'll keep you posted on that. And then Title I is one of our federally funded grants, and part of that really is to promote family and community engagement. So we always partner with the Greenfield Rec Department during the Winter Carnival and try to be a part of as many festivities as they provide, so that we can also be there to give away books, math games, and really engage with the community. So we had a lot of fun. We were there on Saturday at Sanderson Street, and some of my Title I interventionists, as you see, joined me, and were giving away books. We had prizes for kids. It was really a nice event. And then we sponsored the Mad Science Show, which happened at the the middle school later that day. It was a packed house, and I got a lot of nice emails from families in the community just really appreciative of the show and having something free and available for folks to attend. So that was great. And then on Sunday, we froze outside with Olaf in front of Adam's Donuts, but we were able to give every child math games and a book when they picked up their specialty donuts from Adam. So really appreciate Christy Moore at the Rec Department always offering us the opportunity to engage in her festivities, and it was just really nice to see all the families and community and kids come together. So thank you.
Okay, let's hear from the superintendent, and then we can take questions for both of you after that.
So the first piece I was speaking about was the Grinspoon Award, but that I think has been covered, although always worth repeating. The budget, the superintendent's budget has been posted. It has been in the Greenfield Recorder. It's on the website. The budget hearing is scheduled for February 28th at 6:30 here. And I believe that the superintendent's budget represents the priorities in the strategic plan, as well as some discussion with the budget subcommittee. And we also really are seeking to preserve our staffing overall, which is positive. You know, we're in a time when the ESER 3 funds are running out. They'll be done by the end of September. And I think when the committee sees my budget presentation, I hope that you will feel like we have maybe had a little budget slope and not a cliff. Anyone who's interested in reviewing the budget can find it on the website, or certainly folks can call my office. We have hard copies available if anyone would like them. So we have a few staffing changes coming in the future. I shared last month that Meryl Maselli, our Director of Early Childhood, was leaving. She's going to concentrate on her doctoral studies, which is wonderful for her. And Jill Taglia, who is one of our special ed teachers at AEL, she's been appointed as the interim director, which I'm very excited about. Jill has over 20 years of teaching experience, special ed teaching experience, as well as having been a principal for a number of years in another state. So she is an experienced administrator, and we're happy to have her with us in her new role. And then Mr. Morrison from the high school has shared that he will be moving on from Greenfield at the end of his contract, which ends in June. So I would like to thank Derek for the work he's done at the high school, and really appreciate the time that he's been here. And then I will let the committee know what the next steps are for me in replacing his position. And then a commercial. We need still instructional assistants at a number of schools across the district. So if anyone's interested, you can check School Spring. There is an employment link on the bottom of the homepage of our website, or you can contact Lauren in my office if you have any questions. Weather-related decisions, I really don't like talking about the weather in the winter, and we dodged quite the potential disaster the other day. But I just want to remind folks that it is a complicated endeavor to make decisions about weather. The weather decisions get made at about 4:30 to 4:45 in the morning when there is an event. And I assume people can appreciate the challenge of trying to predict what the weather will be multiple hours ahead. And thankfully, I know there's often a desire from families for me to please call it early, do it the night before. But thankfully, in this instance, that did not occur, because that would have been not a good use of a snow day. I appreciate that parents may not agree with the decision I make if I have kept schools open, and so I will remind them again that they have the ultimate choice to keep their kids home if I have opened school. We just ask that people call. The same challenge goes for having indoor recess versus outdoor recess. All of our principals want the kids to go outside and breathe fresh air and run around. But there are times when we make the decision to have students stay in because the weather temperatures and the wind chill make it concerning for our students to be outside. So I appreciate the understanding when we make these decisions. So, a positive note, Karen and I were able to attend the Building a Stronger Commonwealth, One Person at a Time, Franklin County Legislative Breakfast on January 18th. That was held at the Greenfield Public Library, and Representative Blay, Representative Whips were in attendance, along with Elena Cohen from Senator Comerford's office. And the speakers that were there provided a wealth of information about legislative proposals and budget proposals to support the public and school library system across Massachusetts. So we were very happy to be able to attend that event. And registration is forthcoming. Kindergarten registration is on the horizon. We have put an ad in the paper. We are sending information home. It is on the website. If you know anybody who has a child who will be 5 on or before September 1st, please share this information with them. We are also taking pre-registration paperwork at the Academy of Early Learning. Please call the building to get information. Just a reminder to families that at times spaces are limited at AEL. It is an integrated program, meaning that we serve the needs of students ages 3 through 5 with disabilities, as well as students age 3 through 5 who are non-disabled. And so we utilize our spaces in our classrooms and follow statutes around ratios when we fill seats at our preschool. So keep a lookout for the preschool and excuse me, kindergarten registration.
Thank you. Questions for the superintendent and assistant superintendent? None tonight. Excellent. Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda, and just a reminder, so this would be a motion to approve all the items listed on the consent agenda. If there's any single member who would like an item on the consent agenda separated and considered separately, we can do that. So is there any member who would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Member Deneve.
I'd like to remove C because I have to recuse myself from that vote.
Excellent. Okay, we will consider the vote on the contract for the school transportation services separately. Are there any other items members would like to consider separately? Otherwise, it's just a vote, and well, we can discuss, but we'd vote up and down or down on A, B, D, and E. All right. I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, except for item C.
So moved.
Motion by Member Martini. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A second from Member Childs. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? And I'm abstaining, so the motion carries. Let's see, now let's move on to the vote on the contract for school transportation services. Can I have a motion to approve that contract?
So moved.
So, motion by Member Martini. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second by Member Childs. Any discussion? It's still red. I thought you were going to talk. Okay. Not seeing any discussion, so let's have a vote on that. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. And those abstaining, I'll abstain, and Member Deneve abstains, but the motion carries. So those were all approved. Next, we're moving on to the superintendent evaluation. So I had presented a committee structure last a meeting that did not include a subcommittee for superintendent evaluation because I wanted a chance to discuss it and think about it and learn some more. And I wanted to kind of share my thinking about that process. So I think that there's been some dissatisfaction with our superintendent evaluation process. I know I felt I didn't really love the tool, and I found it confusing and difficult. I think there's also been a concern that some of the comments from school committee members haven't always been entirely in line with what our role is in the superintendent evaluation process. And so it's caused a little bit of tension and confusion and difficulty. So I think really appreciated the initiative of Member Deneve and others who wanted there to be a subcommittee to try to address some of those problems, and including revamping the tool that we would use with the superintendent evaluation. Just as a reminder and for the benefit of people at home, any changes that were made to a superintendent evaluation tool would need to be done in concert with the superintendent who is being evaluated. So it's not something we can just decide on our own. The superintendent would need to agree to changes. And we will not be doing a superintendent evaluation process this year because while we would love the opportunity to appreciate and be constructive with Christine about her work, also it's not very valuable for someone who is not continuing in the role. So we have some time, which is also really good. So I guess what I'm saying is I see a need for professional development for the committee so that we can have a superintendent evaluation process that's constructive and that builds a stronger relationship between the committee and the superintendent to support them in their role and being even more effective on behalf of our students. I'd like us to do that professional development together first as a full committee so that we could fully understand the process and also fully understand our existing tool. Then, as out of that professional development process, I'd like us to have a discussion about whether we still want to have a subcommittee to work on changing the tool or some other item. But I guess essentially what I'm saying is I'd like to start the work together with professional development as a full group. And I'd love to hear members' comments about that. And also I would welcome feedback too from the superintendent and assistant superintendent. So anyone who wishes to speak. Yeah, Member Martini.
When would you propose this to take place?
I think it pretty much as soon as we could get started with MASC, if would like MASC to come and work with us and to provide some professional development for us. So getting on their calendar, it could be as early as next month that we would begin. Member Deneve?
I'm wondering if maybe a little bit later might be good, considering that we have so much coming up. And I'm wondering if that might be a good thing to do, really work on in the summer, especially since we don't have that much to do in the summer and we won't be evaluating for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really glad that you're looking towards professional development for this.
Thank you. Other comments? Member Sexton?
So I understand why we're not doing an evaluation this year. I get that. But would it be inappropriate to maybe suggest we keep the cadence and have a different type of meeting together? Maybe like talking about long-term goals and plans or some other way to sort of like keep up the rhythm of us doing an annual evaluation and have it in the agenda and timeline, but also just could we do like the pre-work to an evaluation work of like understanding where would you like to go and how do you propose we get there and what are some ways that you would find effective for collaborating, and sort of laying the land like that. Is that an inappropriate thing to suggest in this agenda item?
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead, please share. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I had two thoughts. One, knowing that the evaluation doesn't begin at the end. For the superintendent, the evaluation begins well before the start of the year when goals are set. So I do agree there's some time, but maybe not as much for the incoming superintendent as the committee might feel, because whatever format the goals are structured in needs to be in line with the tool. So just to keep that timeline in mind. I guess what you're suggesting, I always perceived as the goal-setting beginning conversation of the evaluation. So I think it's really critical. It has been for me as a superintendent. But I guess the process currently is a lot of that work would happen at that goal setting when the committee hears from the superintendent, and then you folks talk about the goals. But it's important to have that step.
No, I appreciate that. And the reframe back into evaluation and maybe suggesting that we should keep in a somewhat quicker timeline so that we can have the kind of discussion that we would like that is mutually satisfactory.
Yeah, no, I think that the summer is maybe a little too late. Just thinking ahead as to goals that we want to set together and continuing the strategic plan work that we have in place, and really hitting some milestones that we want to see some successes and growth in together. But in order to do that, the tool has to be decided on. So it's kind of the chicken and egg theory right now as to how we get to a agreeable tool and therefore go from there with the goal setting.
And I think part of it is that I don't fully have a picture yet of how much time we will need for the professional development, whether it's one meeting or a series of meetings. So whether we will have time to kind of fully do the professional development that we want to do, and then also look at the tool in time for your first year on the job. Maybe if we do decide to look at the tool, depending on where we are in the process, it might have to be something that we look at for a future year. But we may, I guess, speaking as someone who was really dissatisfied with that tool the first time I used it at all, I was kind of won over by the argument that if we had a full training on the tool and fully understood why it is laid out the way it is and what the opportunities are for the school committee to give feedback, that we may not actually need to change the tool. I'm not sure about that because I still think it's not great. But I think what's most important is not the tool, but our work with each other, our relationships with each other, and how we use this process to unite as the leadership of the school system to help the superintendent to do better and better. And so I feel like we could probably do that with our existing tool. So we'll see. But that's my dream. Member Martini.
Would you be scheduling this as a working session?
I think it would. Well, I'm not entirely sure. I guess I would ask Mass to give us some feedback on that. I could imagine that the first item would be a session that was part of a school committee meeting, but we could make a motion to, not follow the normal Robert's Rules of Order, so that we can learn in a more collaborative way than by making motions and whatever. But I imagine the first session may be more of a general overall orientation, because we do have several members who I'm sure have had the opportunity or will soon to, in the charting the course that's required of school committee members, to get a brief overview of the superintendent evaluation process. But I think a more in-depth overview would be useful for all of us. So I'm not sure what the format would look like exactly yet. Yep.
I think my preference for professional development in general, and especially on something that people are going to be unsure about in certain aspects is to have a working session so that it is less stilted and more open as a conversation. So my preference would be to have a working session and aim for maybe April
And
to take place.
when you say working session, you mean a separate standalone meeting where we aren't kind of following the normal Robert's Rules of Order?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other feedback on the superintendent evaluation professional development plan? Okay, thank you very much for that feedback, and I'll use that as we're planning this going forward. Thank you very much. Next, the yellow follow-up. Member Deneve and Member Sexton. Do either of you? I'd love to hear a report from the conference and what you see as anything that came out of it that we could learn from as a school committee.
The yellow day is my favorite day. I have so much fun there, and it's wonderful to get to interact with the students. So I just want to say that there were there were a lot of students, and they're very engaged, and they're just wonderful, smart, plucky young people, and it's great to hear what they would like to see in their schools. So we were part of this school support breakaway group, and we got to meet small groups of students first, and it was great to be able to tell them what the school committee does and kind of clue them in on what our roles are. And state reps were there, and a few other people were there who did similar things. And then when we moved to our school support group, we pretty much just heard ideas from them, and some of them are within our purview and some of them weren't, but we took some notes, and there are some things that we can, I think that we can make some action and change on. A few of the things were they'd like to see an increase in field trip amounts in the budget. They'd also like to talk about an increase in the budget for the music program. And they certainly love Mr. Sipek, and they wanted us to know how much they liked him, and they wanted to talk about having more of him. So one of the notes that we made was maybe if he was interested in having a staff presentation about the music program. And
yeah, I think that items related to the budget are great, but their perception of a personnel and things like that gets into the superintendent's territory. So
right, but that was definitely a best practice that we learned from MASC about having staff presentations come in for the committee, so that's why I bring that up. And then they also had a lot of questions about the athletics policy. They're very keen on working towards getting athletic credits for things other than just PE. A lot of them are playing sports and not getting athletic credits for that, or marching band, and they would like to have these credits because then it frees them up to take additional classes that they would need for graduation credits. So those are some of the top things. They also had a lot of questions about the bathroom situation, and the very next day we went on the school tour with Karen Patnode, and we did tour the bathrooms. So I'm just saying that we have seen them, and they are in great shape and very nice and not in disrepair at all. So I guess turn it over to Member Sexton. I'm sure that they might remember a few other nuggets.
I think so. I got my notes, so
Awesome.
They will help me. Yeah, so another thing that the students mentioned was how much they really appreciate their instructional staff. They really value their teachers and wanted to communicate to us, knowing that we help fund their teachers. They wanted to communicate that their instructors are really important and that they support whatever we can do to support their instructors. So I appreciated their concern. I think one of our other responsibilities as a school committee is to advocate for youth, especially we have our mayor sitting as part of the body. And they did talk about wanting more spaces for teens to hang out that don't necessarily cost money, but where they can study, they can hang out. Maybe they've got games, either board games or like pool or something, as well as other sort of teen attractions, so they don't have to go out elsewhere out of town to like have a decent amount of fun, like actually have real fun. But you know, anything that we can do in the community to make this an attractive place to be a high school kid would be much appreciated. Let's see. What else did they talk about? I think there were a number of other things that are not necessarily within the school committee's purview to really talk about, but I also want to echo what Elizabeth was saying, that was probably my favorite day and probably will be my favorite day all year. And I can't wait for the next one.
Excellent. Thank you both. Let's see. Let's move on to reports of the school committee. Report of the chair. I wanted to just take a few minutes to talk about the importance of academics in our schools. And I think that we love our teachers and everything they bring to our students, and how hard everyone's working to improve student outcomes. But I wanted to talk about something that goes on behind the scenes that isn't just about the number of teachers we have, but how those teachers can, with leadership, with curriculum leadership, can actually create a more holistic system of learning throughout the whole schools. And that is really the role of our assistant superintendent for curriculum. And I just think that, you know, when I've been out campaigning and everything for school committee, what people are really asking for is just great instruction in the schools. And there's a lot that goes into that. It's not just about the number of teachers that we have. It's also about whether there's somebody who's looking at the big picture and making sure we're getting the new materials and vetting the curriculum. When I first came onto the school committee, it was an appointment to fill a vacancy, which I had to apply for. So I came to a school committee meeting to interview, and out in the lobby there were a group of teachers who were coming in to present to the school committee about the civics curriculum that they had to, because there wasn't at the time an assistant superintendent for curriculum. There was a conference that they all had to go and attend and try to revamp the curriculum together as a team in their free time. And I'm just so grateful that we now have an assistant superintendent who can, when the state is requiring like an overhaul of a curriculum, can attend those meetings and bring things back and work with the teachers and get the materials and all of that. So I just wanted to call that out as we're heading into budget season, and people are looking at the budget and they may see a salary and think, well, how many teachers could we get with that salary? But you have to think about more than just the number of bodies, but also the leadership around curriculum that's so vital for our students. So I just wanted to use my soapbox to say that tonight. And would love to hear a report from the Budget and Finance Subcommittee.
We had a meeting on January 22nd. The only item was FY25 budget development, and as you know, the superintendent's budget has since been posted in the newspaper and on the website. Specific topics within that discussion included new positions, including the float custodian that we discussed as a committee in December, instructional aids necessary for special education, and an elementary instrumental music teacher. In regards to the latter, we discussed the music program quite a bit and possibilities for expanding it, which has been a consistent interest discussed by the full committee and something that we have received much constituent communication about. We took a vote in support of the superintendent posting an anticipated opening for an elementary instrumental position. I noted that this and other aspects of arts programming will need to be part of future discussions by the full committee in regards to future budgets as well. We discussed transportation in regards to the new 5-year bus contract that was recently approved by City Council, and that was on the agenda tonight. We discussed the intended shift to full-year science and social studies at the middle school that will necessitate about 7 new positions in future. This was delayed when the committee voted to delay redistricting. However, this is an anticipated change that will affect future budget development and involve staff and program movement when 8th grade shifts to the middle school and 5th to elementary. Likewise, the committee has discussed Spanish language instruction at the middle school that was cut last year and may wish to bring it back. Essentially in our discussion, this would be sensible to consider when those changes come about. Also related to redistricting, support in the budget for transitional social activities for students was discussed, and more information is needed from that subcommittee and related decision-making in order to move forward specifically with that. Andy shared a summary of the state budget process as it pertains to our local process, in which at the time of our meeting, Governor Healy's proposed budget was anticipated shortly, and it since was put out a couple of days later, in which is included the Chapter 70 amounts and required local contributions, noting that Greenfield is an above minimum funding community, which then leads into deliberations in the legislature. And he also touched on Chapter 766 schools, which are specialized special education schools, tuition costs, which are affected when students move at certain points in the year, and which also had a substantial increase in rates approved last year. Unfortunately, Greenfield did not meet the threshold for assistance with this in the supplemental budget that was passed by the legislature in December. And let me know if I have gotten anything wrong or missed any of the salient points in that.
Questions for Member Martini? Thank you. Let's see. Next is my committee, the Policy and Program Subcommittee. We're continuing our overhaul of the policies and trying to update them with best practices and model policies, and also customize them for Greenfield. I do have a motion for us tonight related to that, related to Section I, which was in your packet. So I'd like to hear a motion that we approve the first reading of amendments to Policy I as presented. Oh, second reading, sorry. I move that we adopt the Policy I instruction as presented on second reading. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved by Member Sexton. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Member Frietti. Thank you. Maybe we should have like an official seconder. Great discussion about Section I. Yes, Member Martini.
I had just 2 questions. I noticed that IGA and IGD are partially redundant, and in the MASC guide online, they are one and the same.
Can you repeat the?
IGA and IGD.
It's curriculum development and adoption.
IGA. Hold, please. Oh, for goodness sake. Curriculum development. So, yes, they are somewhat redundant. What I can tell you is that the process that I've engaged in to this point is taking the section, going through, editing, making comments, posing questions, and then Liz LaFond from MASC goes through, answers, comments back, and based on that review, both of these policies were left in that section, but if the committee wants to delete one, certainly whatever your preference is. I find there are a fair number of policies throughout the policy manuals, MASC's and ours, that are fairly redundant, but, so whatever the committee's pleasure.
I guess what I would recommend is that we vote up or down on the policies as presented tonight, and then we can refer items back to the policy committee to take a look and make changes in the future if needed.
Okay. I think it would be worth the subcommittee looking at just consolidating those two policies
Thank
into
you.
one, the way they are in the guide. And my other question, and I apologize, I don't know the, wait a minute, yes I do, IHBAA, about observations. AA. I just noticed it's around the middle of that page. There's a line that says something along the lines of the People Services Director will ask the permission of the Special Education Director and the Building Administrator to schedule an observation, which doesn't really make sense for us.
It doesn't, and I actually have the phrase Special Education Director crossed off, so it should have been deleted in the final.
Okay.
So
I
it should-
thought in the edits, it ended up saying that the People Services Director would ask the permission of the People Services Director and the Building Administrator.
We want to make sure
schedule
he's
the
very,
observation.
very sure. No, that should have, my copy with the changes doesn't say that, so I will double check it, but it should read the Director of Pupil Services or designee. I just saw what you were
I'm
looking at.
sure it is not terribly difficult for Mr. Messing to ask permission of himself to schedule something, but I just.
He rarely
noticed
argues
that
with himself
piece,
about
so.
those things. No, I will double check to make sure that's cleaned up.
Thank you, that was all.
Thank you, Member Martini. Any other? Oh, yes, Member Prietti.
Just in relation to IGA, IGD, I don't have any context other than they do reference at the bottom different MGL. So it might be worth the policy subcommittee checking to see if maybe what MASC has put forward, we might word differently in one or the other to make them less redundant.
Good idea. Yeah, we can definitely take a look at that at a future meeting. Any other questions or comments about Section I? All right, so I think we are voting to approve it with the kind of typo changes that Member Martini mentioned, and also.
Sorry, that was the other thing. The one we have online is fixed. It says the principal will work with the classroom teacher and the observer and the Director of Pupil Services. So I think it's fixed in the online one that we got from Lauren today.
There have definitely been some issues with version control, so depending on when you're looking at it, or, so we'll make sure that that's cleaned up. But I guess because it is pretty much a typo, I don't think we even need to amend the motion to address that. But we will definitely take up those two that look so similar and find out if there's a reason why, or if we can consolidate and get some help from MASC on that. So thank you so much for your thorough reading of that and your feedback. I want to appreciate the policy subcommittee and the superintendent and MASC for their work on getting through this pretty long section. And we have some other big mountains to climb with other big sections coming up. So I appreciate the entire committee's resolve to finish this process, especially before the new superintendent comes on board. Great. So let's see, let us vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve Section I, say aye.
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 Any opposed? I'll abstain. The motion carries. Thank you very much, everybody. The executive subcommittee did not meet this month. Did the redistricting and reorganizing ad hoc committee meet?
We have not met, but we do have a scheduled meeting on the 21st at 4 p.m. virtually.
Excellent. Thank you.
I will repeat that. The 21st, 4 p.m. virtually. You can find the committee meeting. We're going to be making some decisions related to the implementation of the vote which was taken around redistricting and drawing the lines, and have some discussion about the necessary next, like what the implications were of making that decision. And we will also be discussing what's next or what is needed to move the Green River School along. So.
Great. Thank you. Next, let's hear from the School Committee Handbook Ad Hoc Committee.
We met on February 9th, and we met virtually and discovered quite quickly that this is a large collection of materials to go through. There were 7 handbooks from MASC as templates that you gave us, and we looked through them together and identified things that we thought were important, and looked at things that were policy for us but could also be in the handbook, and decided that we are going to do a working session on March 27th at the library from 6 to 8 p.m., and that'll give us a chance to be sort of informal. Robert's rules don't really benefit us when we're trying to pour through documents and brainstorms, so we're going to make it an informal working session, and we'll make an audio recording of that working session. And the goal is to have an outline of what we think the handbook should be, how we think it should be organized, and hopefully we can bring that to the full committee in April. But if anybody has some ideas percolating on what they would like to have in the handbook, or operational procedures that they have thought about that they think should be considered, please email that to us so that we can start compiling this list, because there's quite a lot of information to collect and a design outline to create.
So, but please don't email the committee, because I think if more than a quorum of us are discussing something, then it kind of goes into open meeting law. So I think it'd be great if people have feedback on that now. And we'll also have another meeting before your next meeting, so we could put that on the agenda if you wanted to get feedback from people that way. But members of the community can certainly email you.
So we could, so if somebody had an idea on the committee about they wanted something potentially added to it, they couldn't email me.
I mean, I'm not.
I mean, not to create deliberation, but
I think, yeah, we can't really deliberate by relay. So there's 3 of you on the committee. If one of them talks to you and then you talk to the committee, that's
right,
a quorum.
I understand.
Yeah, so that's the issue. But we do have now, and we have 4 weeks from now, and certainly members of the community can email you at any time with their feedback on it.
Okay, so for soliciting information for it now, does anyone have any thoughts on it, or has anyone thought about it?
I would love to see a code of conduct included for sure.
Okay.
And I think also it might be helpful to have some operational guidelines for how the organizational meeting gets organized and all that.
Anybody else?
Okay, well, if you can remind me, we'll put it on the agenda for next time so people have more time to think about it and give you some feedback. Anything else? Okay. And Collaborative for Educational Services Representative, Member Peretti.
Yeah, I went to my first meeting. It was January 31. It was remote. There was a lot to digest, so I thought I'd put something together, put some of the materials together to put together and to distribute to the full committee in March. It's nothing time sensitive. They're getting started on moving some work forward that the executive director is working on that I have barely read about yet. And yeah, I'll put something together for the committee for March. And yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. City Planning and Construction Representative, has there been any meetings?
As far as I know, based on the town website, they did not meet in February, and so I did not meet them.
Okay, great, thank you. I don't know if it is, I don't know if the mayor knows, is that something that happens on a particular timeline, or? Okay, we'll find it.
The website says that it's generally the second Tuesday of the month, I believe at 4.
Oh, okay.
4:30,
They are monthly meetings,
it did
okay.
not show up on the town calendar, so.
Okay, great. Excellent. And our legislative representative, Member Deneve.
Yes, so we have the Day on the Hill coming up May 4th. And in preparation for that, I have contacted Jason Frazier, who is the Vice President of MASC. And he teaches workshops and does professional development on preparing school committees and other people to approach legislators and get everything together in order to ask for money from the state. So he is going to come out on March 27th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the library. And in attendance will be Division 5 members, which is our collection of local school committees. And we will also be inviting all of the members from the local committees closest to us, Hallmont, Gil Montague, and so on and so forth. And MASC would like to have us cater this in some fashion and reimburse us for that. So this is an opportunity to do some professional development. If you'd like to attend the Day on the Hill, he will help you get ready to do that. And hopefully we can go together as a show of strength for Western Massachusetts and advocate for some education funding.
Thank you. What about the Assistant Superintendent Search Committee?
Okay, so there was a nice pool of applicants for this position, and I would like to think that this speaks to the serious efforts that the district has been making to improve student outcomes by the curriculum work being done, investing in high quality instructional materials and practices, and investing in our staff by improving compensation, all of which is underscored by the city's commitment to the school department as demonstrated in the last budget season and election. 5 candidates were interviewed, and I appreciated hearing from all of them about why they want to work in Greenfield and what they believe they can contribute here. I will definitely remember perspectives that were shared about how to meaningfully evaluate the effectiveness of programming and how implementation of needed changes realistically plays out, and holding fast to responsibility for student learning while genuinely facilitating personal growth and professional growth for people. The school committees consistently identified some priorities that I think are related to this position, including maintaining a regular focus on student achievement, investing in those high quality, high impact, evidence-based instructional materials and practices, and centering diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging with special attention to disabled students. So I discussed these priorities as part of the first round interview feedback, and there will be 2 candidates called back for second interviews, from which we can expect a recommendation for an individual whose expertise and priorities best match what we are trying to achieve and who will contribute to the success of the district's strategic plan. The goal is to have this transition occur in a timely manner so that Karen can train them planfully before July, and therefore devote her full attention to taking the step up into the superintendent's office.
Thank you. Any questions? Appreciate everyone's work on that. And finally, our District Wellness Committee representative, Member Prietti.
I don't have a report, just thank you for passing the wellness policy.
Thank you for
We
all,
meet again in March.
thank you for all your hard work on it. Yep.
Sorry, just as an added note to that, I will put the draft of the wellness policy out to parents in my update this week, just so that folks can see it. And what Melissa Bednarski shared, if it's all right, that primarily the work was reviewing and like reframing any of the information with new guidelines and new statutes, but that there are not huge changes that are from our current policy. So, but I will share that out so that folks can see it prior to a second read.
Great, thank you. With that, we are moving to adjournment. I'd like to hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion from Member
Second.
Martini, a second from Member Prietti. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? We are adjourned at 7:13 p.m.
You know, getting stuff done.